How's it going, everybody? It's been a while since you've seen my face, so here I am. I've been busy, and this video is, of course, very long, so everything that I'm going to talk about may not pertain to you, so feel free to skip around in the chapters of the video to things that might have interest of you. It might pertain to you if you're very, very new to the game, but this guide is basically an entire summary of how to get the game, what are the resources you need, and kind of a basic overview of how the game works. So please feel free to skip around if you need to, but if you want to watch the whole video in its entirety, have fun. All right, so what is Granblue Versus? Granblue Versus is kind of like an homage to older Street Fighter games, right? Without the jank of old fighting games, right? So no infinites, no weird execution stuff, no like random stun. The game has a very big emphasis on whiff punishing, slower paced neutral, and matchup knowledge is like where the complexity lies. But there is no weird mechanics. There's no comeback factor of any sort. So the game is pretty solid in terms of like just being a very straightforward game. The game doesn't have that many complex things about it, but it does play very, very well. It's a very crisp game. It has a lot of mechanics that do feel a lot better to even Street Fighter in a way that I'll talk about when we get to that basic overview of the game. So if you're someone who has played Street Fighter 5 or Dragon Ball, you're kind of, getting a little bit bored of those games, so you want something of a different pace, Granblue is definitely something you might want to be getting interested in. Overall, the game is definitely on an upswing just for the fact that Evo and Combo Breaker are both hosting the game. So it's going to be getting more support. The game is like in about season 3 right now, so more characters are on their way, more patches are on the way, and maybe some rollback. We'll have to wait and see, So fingers crossed that they do announce something at Evo. But yeah, it is a good time to get into the game with newer players and more experienced players alike. So yeah, if you like it, if you like the look of the game, definitely I'll consider picking it up. But let's talk about how to get the game exactly and what's the best deal. So the big question, right? PC or PS4? So in terms of price, it doesn't really matter. PC is better for a couple reasons, but both on PSN and Steam, which are probably the best ways to get it. There is no like secret site to get the game super, super cheap. The base form of the game is $20 for both PC and PS4. But the better deal, if you don't have the game at all, is to get the $50 like deluxe edition. It comes with every single character up until this date. So you get all the DLC right off the bat. And I think you get like DLC colors, stuff like that. So if you don't have the game at all, the $50 is pretty good if you really want to commit to the game. But if you want to try it out, $20 is like the best deal you can get right now. There is really no secret website to get anything better. But PC is better right now for a few reasons, right? Of course, it has less native delay, but that could play into factor because PS4 obviously offline is going to be the way to play the game. But in terms of PC, there's a couple reasons, right? Besides that, is you can gain the weapons and colors from modding the game and system files, so you don't have to worry about unlocking that stuff. There is more players on PC. There's an entire Discord dedicated to competitive players on PC. Just because if you are playing on delay, with the native delay of the game being less than PS4, it makes the delay-based netcode a little bit better. But you also have access to Parsec. If you don't know what Parsec is, it is basically making a host PC or making your PC or someone else's PC a host that you can connect to. It's just basically better than delay-based. It is very popular amongst the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 community. If you don't know what Parsec is pretty good. Especially if you have a cloud server. The only thing is like whoever hosts obviously has a little bit more of an advantage, but you can set delay in the game, stuff like that, so you can kind of even it out if you want to have a little bit more competitive sets. Because to be fair, playing online, the lobby system is not fantastic, right? There is a specific lobby day that people join, but overall, you kind of have to find matches through the Discord or maybe get lucky just hopping online, seeing who's on. So I would definitely suggest you join the Discord. That link is in the description if you want to join, and a couple other resources I'm going to be talking about as well. But that is a huge one if you want to find matches on PC, of course. PS4 is a little bit trickier, so that's why I'm telling you guys, if you want to get the game, get it on PC for the mods, to get the weapons, for Parsec, and just to find more matches in general. Right. So let's talk about the basics of the game. How does the game work exactly? So like other anime fighters, it does have a run. You also have a backdash, right? But in this game, there is run recovery, and there's no way to kind of stop it outright. So as you see how Gran kind of puts his foot down, right? There is run recovery. So example, if I were to do a fireball with Catalina, and I were to repeat it right, I can't block right away after I run. I have to like give Gran some leeway. So there's a lot more walking around in this game because it is a little more slower pace and more footsies. You're not running around like BlazBlue or Guilty Gear because there is run recovery, so you can easily get hit by a normal. You can easily get hit by a fireball or a super or whatever. So running is important, but you don't want to run all the time because you have to be moving in and out of normals to try to play that footsie game because run has recovery. There is a way to stop the recovery or to be able to dodge stuff like that. So if she does a fireball again, I can spot dodge to stop the recovery. Oops. Hold on, my bad. Yeah, so I could do that, but of course that has recovery too, so there is no perfect scenario. The way to really get around it is just kind of like using run sparingly. Don't overuse it, of course, and try not to get hit randomly in neutral. There is a jump in the game, of course. There is jump blocking in the game. It depends on the move. Certain moves and mostly normals are air unblockable, but for example, if I were to do a DP, right, this is blockable. But if she were to do that, it is air unblockable. I cannot block that. There is a super jump in the game as well. So normal jump and super jump, no air dash of any sort, right? So that's the basic movement in the game, pretty much. Pretty simple stuff. Let's talk about attacks. So attacks, there is 4. There's light, medium, heavy, and unique. So in the game, there is close and far normals. So as you see right here, Gran does his punch for his light if he's far away. But if he's close, he does this kind of shorter jab. And this also leads into auto combos. Every button besides U has an auto combo attached to it if you do it up close, whether on hit or block, and they can be canceled into special moves, of course. So auto combos do play a factor in pressure game and in punishment, right? Sometimes you're not going to always get the best punish, and auto combos do play a factor a little bit, right? It's not the only combo you get, but they do come into play quite a bit, so they are important. They are pretty good to use, especially in certain situations. The unique one, though, depends on the character. So in standing, right, Gran has this thing that he can throw out. It's like a sword slash. He can also charge it to make it more powerful, or he can also cancel it. Catalina has this shield, right? If she holds it, she does an attack. She can also do an attack right away and backdash or forward dash out of it. So the standing version depends on the character. Everyone else, though, in the game, the crouching is a sweep, right? So this is how you get hard knockdown, or one of the ways to get hard knockdown in the game. And sweeps are special cancelable, so you can make your safe by doing a fireball or doing some other special move depending on your character. And for jumping, it is usually an attack. I don't remember exactly for every character, but most of the time it's just an extra air button. So like jump medium, jump heavy, jump U is usually another air attack. Same thing for Catalina. For both Gran and Cat, they're pretty similar. They're kind of like these really long startup normals, but they do have kind of cross up. That's pretty much it for the buttons, right? So let's talk about special moves. So if you see right below the health bar, there is these 4 icons. So what they are? What they are is a cooldown system for special moves. So this is pretty unique to Granblue. The game overall depends. The cooldown overall depends on how you use the move. So if I were to do DP over and over and over again, I don't really have a cooldown, right? But cooldown is affected in 3 ways. So one of the ways is if you do the simple input version of the move. So as you see right next to the symbol, you see how it has forward and the attack. If I were to hold forward and press the easy mode button, right? I say easy mode button, but it is useful in certain situations. I have this cooldown, right? I can't do my DP again. Right, so it's basically an easy input. It does come into play quite a bit because instead of like me getting hit for knockdown, so for example, if I get hit knockdown and Catalina is pressuring me, instead of me like having to do the full input, I can do the easy input and still have the access to the DP. Of course, I have the extra cooldown, but it is definitely pretty clutch to use in certain situations, right? You can do it for all the special moves too. I can do it for the fireball, I can do it for DP. I can also do it for his Rekka style move, right? So that adds cooldown to the moves. Another way that adds cooldown is the EX versions, right? The EX versions also add cooldown, so you see much longer compared to doing the simple input. Same thing for fireballs as well, right? And the other way, mainly for fireballs, is if the fireball whips, there is cooldown. So, for example, if I were to play Cat, or if I were to set Cat, right? If I were to dodge this, she can't do a fireball right away. She has to let the fireball exit the screen, and then she can do another fireball. But if I were to just block it straight up, she can do 2 right away. So those are 3 main ways cooldown actually gets affected. If you just do the move straight up, right, whether they block it or get hit, or if you're doing DP or a move in general, there is no cooldown. But there is ways to affect the cooldown in the special moves. Let's talk about supers. So supers are pretty simple in the game. How they are affected is 2 ways, right? So if I were to have over 30% health, I have access to Skybound Art, which is your level 1 super. So how to do that is in 2 ways. You can either do 236 or Critical Circle forward using the easy button, right? This does affect in certain ways. So for example, if I were to do this from this distance, right? It gives you this like kind of animation. But if I do it a little bit farther away, like over here, you see how it doesn't have that extra close-up? It does less damage. But if I were to do it from over here, and I do the actual input for it, or sorry, a little bit closer than that, like right here, it gives me the full animation from a little bit farther away. So this does affect the supers. So normally, how to do the Skybound Art is double Critical Circle forward, or double 236, using the H. This is for all the characters, by the way. All the characters have the same exact input for their supers. So either that or 236 using the easy button, right? If I have 30%, right, you see how I have blue? This gives me access to level 2, aka the super Skybound Art. So just because I have this doesn't mean I lose access to the level 1. I can still do level 1. But I also gain access to this, right? Which does more damage. They do change drastically. Depending on the character, they do have the supers are very, very different. It isn't just like a powered up version of level 1. It is a completely different super. So for example, Gran does this kind of lunge with his sword, with the Skybound Art, but his super Skybound Art is a actual fireball. And then same thing as the other one. If I were to do the actual input, which is 236, 236, pressing the unique, right, I will get the full animation from farther. But if I were to do the easy version, which is the easy button plus U, and then just 1 236, it will give it to me, but it will not give me the full animation, right? Unless I'm like super close to them. So again, just like the regular level 1, the Skybound Art, depending on the distance, if you use the shortcut method, it will affect the damage. All right, let's talk about how the combo system works. So generally, look up the combos for characters, right, in the Dust Loop wiki. But the general rule is everyone can kind of cancel out of their auto combo into some special move that gives them knockdown. Pretty much every character in the game has this kind of method. The game also has very reliant on links, so it's not all about auto combos and gatlings. So I can't gatling far M into 2M, right? There's no like gatling system. The game has very is very reliant on links. So if I were to do 2A, 2A, right? 2A, 2A, 5A, or 5L, this is a link. And I get a combo from it, right? I can't just mash it. Well, the two ways you can mash, but like, I can't really do like this, right? This doesn't let me do it. I can't do far A, right? Usually 2A's have a gather to them, and you can link it into their 5A's. There is counter hit specific combos, right? So if I were to set her to counter hit, right here, so I get access to more stuff. So I actually get to do 2S, or excuse me, Guilty Gear method, 2M into 5M and get a combo. But if it were to in default, I don't get access to that, right? See how that didn't combo? So there is counter hit combos in the game that lead to pretty fat damage. So for example, this is a pretty good one, right? So if I do this, I get quite a bit of damage. This is a combo I can't do normally. I have to get that counter hit. So yeah, those are kind of the basic methods of how combos work. But of course, look up your character's combos from the Dustlib wiki. Characters do vary quite a bit on what they do, but usually they have some move that gives you knockdown. Usually most characters can do this method right here, right? This like 2A, 2A, 5A. And also, of course, just going into auto combo as well. That's like pretty universal. Also, on counter hit, auto combo, you do get a very, very fat combo. Usually a 5H, right? And one last thing for the combos. Less is more in terms of damage. So if I have to do just an auto combo straight up into super, it does a 3480, right? But if I have to do 5H into it, it does 47, so it does significantly more damage, right? Even for the heavy auto combo. If I do heavy auto combo, sorry. It does less than me just doing the straight up 5H into the super, right? So less is more in terms of damage, but you know, it could depend. You might want more meter. You might want your moves to recover from cooldown if you use them. So you're not always going for the fat damage. Sometimes you want to, depending on the situation, you want to go for the longer combo. So yeah, that also varies in the combo system as well. Also in the air, there is an air combo limit, so you cannot do. You see how the DP whiffed there? Because the combo limit, or my juggle limit has reached its max, the move will just whiff straight up. So that is also comes into play with the combo system. I think you have 6 hits available in the air, if I remember correctly. So yeah, be careful with that as well. You can't just juggle people forever. So let's talk about defense, right? Defense in the game is pretty simple. There's 2 main things you want to know about defense. Is you want to be able to hit your anti-airs, which is usually down H for pretty much every character. Some characters have pretty decent, like close stand H's for auto combos. Grants is okay. It does vary on the character, but this is also very important, making sure you hit your anti-airs and throw teching. So throw teching in this game is interesting, right? So you obviously have the normal throw tech. If you were to both throw at the same time, you get backed off. But you do have another bigger window. You see how Gran kind of falls down there? You see how he falls down and he glows red? This is a delay throw tech. So basically, it's not as good as the normal tech. You do lose a little bit of health. And also, you're a little bit more negative. But this gives you more time to react to throws in general, right? I don't know the exact frame data, but it's significantly more time. So teching throws is actually pretty easy in this game. You can get baited, of course. You can get baited by someone doing an overhead or somebody walking back and then getting out of throw range and making you whip the throw. So if I were to do like on her, right, you can get baited into whipping throws. But overall, using this delay throw tech is very clutch because as soon as you see the throw, you have way more time to tech the throw. So that is very important for defense. Another big thing in defense is you do have a guard button in the game. This guard button, you do have to block high and low, but this does prevent you from getting hit by cross-ups. So certain characters have really fast cross-up moves, or some characters. I say like one or two. Naramaya comes to mind. She has one. But in general, so to prevent from getting hit cross-up, you can actually do this, and it'll protect you from both front and back, right? So if there's some like ambiguous jump in that you're not sure what side is gonna hit, you can use the block button to protect yourself on both sides. This also gives you access to the spot dodge. So if you hold back and do guard button, this gives you the spot dodge. If you hold forward and guard button, it gives you the roll, which you do roll through characters. So the guard button is pretty useful, right? You can also guard button in the air, which does this kind of weird fake out thing. But the guard button in the air doesn't really matter. You're better off just kind of pressing regular block. But yeah, so that's how the defense works. The defense is pretty simple. Again, of course, like I said before, run does have recovery, and just even pressing guard button doesn't really prevent that. So you do have to be careful with the run. Obviously, protects you against cross-ups, and being able to react to throws, having that bigger window is very important. It makes you much harder to open up, knowing that you are very good at delay throw teching and hitting your anti-airs. And of course, with punishing, is also very important. A lot of normals have pretty big hurt boxes in general. Their hurt boxes are pretty lenient. So obviously, being able to whiff punish is a huge aspect of the game, like I mentioned in the very beginning of this video. Some other resources to get into the game as well is using the Dust Loop wiki. It has all of the frame data, and it has some basic overview of the character, has some combos, stuff like that. So it's definitely a good thing to use, especially if you're trying to learn matchups or just kind of seeing what character you're interested in. It definitely gives you everything you would possibly need right off the bat to understand every character. Also, there is a YouTube channel that has a lot of high-level replays from Japan, which is the best region right now. But also, if you don't want to use that, if you don't support replay channels, you can use the in-game replay system. It's pretty decent. Pretty much the same thing. You're gonna get matches from Japan. A lot of them are master rank. The majority of people in Japan are master rank because they do have access to play the game a little bit more, because it is a little bit more popular in Japan in general.
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。